Krishna. Just give me a minute. 1 minute. Okay. Turn off all this. Okay, 1.2.9. Okay. Narada praises Indra. Let's go to get discussion. Kritanakampitas. Narada praises Indra. Sri Narada Vacha. Kritanakampitas tvam yat Surya Chandra Yamadayaha. Navagya Karina Sarve Lokapala Pare Kimu. Narada said, you have surely received the Supreme Lord's mercy because demigods like Surya, Chandra, and Yama, what to speak of the other rulers of planets, all obey your orders. Yadyasmat Pare Vasu Marud Rudra Ganadaya Stava Agyakarinaha Idikim Bhaktavyam Ityarthaha. What to speak of the other rulers of planets, such as the Vasus, the Maruts, and the Rudras. Munayo Smadrisho Vashyah Shrutayas Pamstuvantihi Jagadishattaya Yatvam Dharma Dharma Phalapadaha. Sages like me are your subjects, and the Vedas praise you as the Lord of the universe. For you bestow the fruits of religion and irreligion. Shrutayascha Aindriyas Tvam Jagadishattayastuvanti Tacha Uchitameva Ityaha Yaditi. The Shrutis, such as the Indra, talk about, glorify Indra as the Lord of the universe, the controller of the universe. That is appropriate because you bestow the fruits of religion and irreligion. Yadyasmatvam dharmasya dharmasya cha phalam swarga naraka bhughadikam paddadaasityarthaha. Because you are the one who grant each soul in the mortal world swarga, an experience of swarga or an experience of naraka, and so on. The principal demigods among them, the Vasus, Maruts, Rudras, and Adityas, all obey the orders of Indra. In the first of Shrutis, the Rig Veda, many of the hymns are prayers to Indra and descriptions of his glories. The Rig Sutras, the Indra hymns, praise him as the Lord of the universe. Narada agrees that this is fitting, and in his own words, gives evidence of Indra's sovereignty, his power to send pious souls to heaven and sinners to hell. So even the sages like Narada Muni are considered subordinate to the devas, like Indra. Even though the devas are considered to be cosmic Kshatriyas, and sages like Narada would be considered to be cosmic Brahmanas, still the sages are very respectful to Indra. So this explains some of the scriptural statements which glorify the devas as being above sages, like Narada. Aho Narayano Vrata Taniyan Yasya Sodaraha Sadharmam Manayan Yasya Vidadhatyadaram Sada. How wonderful that Lord Narayana has become your younger brother, born of the same womb, honoring the ways of civilized life. He always treats you with respect. Oh, Jagadishata Nama Sarvalokeshwarattam Tasya Kagatha Prapanchati Pita Vaishwaryam Sampanamive Ityashenaha Aho Ityashcharya. How wonderful. Indicates that Narada Muni was wonderstruck. He wanted to convey the idea that want to speak of you being the controller of the universe, you being the Lord of all the worlds. Even your opulence is well established, even regarding persons who are beyond material existence. That's how it seems. Narayana, Sarva Jiveshwareshwaro Yasya Vrata Tatra Cha Sahodara Tatrapi Taniyam. Narayana, the Lord of all the lords of all the living entities, is his brother. On top of it, he is not a stepbrother. He is born from the same mother, biological mother, as Indra's mother, Indra's biological mother. And on top of it, he is his younger brother. Ataha, Satam Dharmam, Kanishthane Jeshtanam Sammana Karya Ityadi Rupam Sad Acharam Manayan Pravartayan. And on top of it, the Supreme Lord, he honors the dharma of the civilized, of the saints. Young people should always be respectful to elderly people. So he honors good conduct, sadachara of this form, follows rules like this with a desire to propagate it. Yasya adaram vak pratipalanadina gauravam karoti sattvam iti purvenaiva anvaya. He always treats you with respect. He carries out your instructions. Indra's greatness is spiritual as well as material, because the Lord of all lords becomes his brother. Not only is the Lord born of the same womb, but he accepts the inferior role of a younger brother. In that role, he teaches rules of behavior by his own example, showing, for instance, how a younger brother should respect his elder brother. Lord Vamana Dev submissively does what Indra tells him. Sri Parikshit Vacha, Itham Indrasya Saubhagya Vaidhavam Kirtayan Itham Indrasya Saubhagya Vaidhavam Kirtayan Muhu Devarshir Vadayan Veenam Shlaghamano Nanartatam. Sri Parikshit said, the sage among the demigods thus profusely declared the extreme good fortune of Indra. As he chanted Indra's glories, he played his veena and danced. Tam Indram Shlaghamana Deva Eva Dayapatram Ityadikaya Sarvabhaumo Te Arthanir Vachanena Prashamsa. So in this way, he glorified Indra based on the statements of that great king. who had stated that the Devas are factually the recipients of Krishna's mercy. Remembering the southern king's declaration, the demigods are the real recipients of Lord Vishnu's mercy. Narada took this opportunity to speak out on the topic. Indra refutes Narada's praise. Tato bhivadya devarshim uvachendra shanir hriya bhogandharva kalavidya kimmamupa hasannasi. Indra then welcomed Narada and in a soft voice humbly said, "My dear Narada, expert in the arts of the Gandharvas, why are you making fun of me? Gandharva kalaya. Gandharva kalayah abhigyeshu mithyastuti para upahas adikam na asambhavitam ityabhiprayena tatha sambodhana." Indra referred to Narada Muni as a person expert in the arts of the Gandharvas because he intended to say that it is not impossible that you would be like this, because it is not impossible for those who are expert in the arts of the Gandharvas, such as false glorification, such as ridiculing others, and so on. The Gandharvas are clever and tricky. A person well trained in their art certainly knows how to manipulate others with false praise and ridicule. Indra knows that Narada is not an ordinary Gandharva, but Indra is enjoying a humorous exchange. Asya na swargarajyasya vrittam vedsi tvameva kim kativaran ito daitya bhitya asmabhirna nirgatam. Are you unfamiliar with what ruling heaven means? Don't you know how many times we demigods have had to flee heaven in fear of the Daityas? No. Naisha stutir nachayam upahasopi iti chet tatra hasyati. If Narada Muni were to say, no, this is not simply praise, nor is it even a ridicule of you, anticipating that, Indra speaks this text 14. Asyati. Mamapi na vetsikyam, apitu janasya vetyarthaha. Don't you know? Means you certainly know. Tadevaha kaditi. And he states that in the second half of the verse. Don't you know how many times we demigods have had to flee heaven in fear of the Daityas? Itasvargat kativaran nanirgatam na apasratam apitu bapushaha palaya tapasvyadi veshena achannaihi bhutva matyalokado nivrittam ushitam asti iti artha. Is it not that several times we have escaped putting on the appearance of ascetics and so on, having hidden ourselves in the world of the mortals and so on? Haven't we lived like this in solitary environments? Anena swarge vasanti ye ityukto matyalokat swargasya utkarshaha nirakritaha. In this way, he has refuted, Indra has refuted Swarga being superior to the world of the mortals. Because Narada Muni had stated earlier that those who reside in Swarga, they have this, they have that. Sorry. Swarga bimufur upadrava bhara utpattehe tatha swachanda achara gatayaha ityuktaha swarginam api utkarsha yarastaha. Even in Swarga, repeatedly, there is the burden of having to deal with disturbances. He had stated earlier that the Devas are independent in their behavior and conduct, and that this is another and that this is an exalted feature of the residents of Swarga. That has also been refuted now. Narada may deny praising Indra in vain or making fun of him. Anticipating Narada's objections, Indra here begins to argue against the praise that he is the dearest devotee of the Lord. Narada certainly knows the troubles the demigods have in holding on to their power. The demigods have many times been driven out by their rivals, forced to flee disguised as sannyasis, to hide themselves on the earth and so on. Indra thus refutes the statements Narada heard from the king that the demigods, on the strength of their good fortune, live in the realm of heaven and act and travel however they like. Acharan Balarindra Asuraneva Sarvata Suryendvadhyadhikareshu Nyayukta Kratubhag Bhagabhu. One of them, Bali, once even took over as Indra. He appointed demons to all the posts like sun god and moon god and took for himself my shares of sacrifice. Suryadayo Lokapala Tava Agyakarina iti yaduktam tat pariharati acharani. He then sets aside Narada Muni's observation or remark that the controllers of the different worlds, the rulers of the different worlds, the Lokapala demigods, such as Surya, are order carriers of Indra. Mama Suryadinam cha adhikar vidnena kutaha esham lokapalakatva mahima utahama. Where when there are obstacles to the officiating posts of Surya and others, then where is their glory? Tadagya palakatvena maha mahima asti ityartha. Certainly, as their order controller, I would be greatly glorious. Ratu bhaga bhuk ityanena balireva yajnana bhagan bhukte vayam kshutrindadi piditaha mritaiva ityartaha. But when Bali took over as the when Bali took over, then he was enjoying the shares of the youngest, whereas we were tormented by hunger, thirst, and so on. We were almost dead. Okay, Tatagya Palakatvena Mama Maha Mahima Asti Tyartha. By carrying out the instructions of persons like Bali, I'm certainly very glorious. He's saying that in a sarcastic manner. In this way, he then refutes Narada Muni's claim that the Devas are very fortunate recipients of the Supreme Lord's mercy because they get to enjoy celestial nectar. Narada has just told him the sun god and other rulers of planets obey your orders. To counter this, Indra questions the value of the demigods' controlling power, which the demigods are always in anxiety of losing. He also questions whether he's actually glorified by having such uncertain rulers as his ordered carriers. Indra ashamedly remembers how he almost died from hunger and thirst while Bali served and enjoyed Indra's shares of sacrifice. Indra thus responds to the southern king's statement. Their food is a nectar of immortality. Tato nas tata matrabhyam tapobhir vitatair dridhai toshitopyam shamatrena gato bhratritvam achyutah. Our father and mother then performed many severe austerities by which they satisfied the Supreme Lord Achyuta. The Lord responded by appearing as my brother in a mere partial expansion of himself. Tataha Tadrisha Dukhanantara. After such distress, Itatair Atitridhai iti Kala Vilambam Kriyorapi Paramadakkam Suchayati. Then our father and mother then performed many severe austerities. Itataihi. They performed many severe austerities, many extensively. This indicates that there was some delay in the Lord's appearance. Amshamatrena itya asamagratvan narayano bhrata iti nirakritameva. And then he seems to deny Narada Muni's assertion. Narayana himself has become your brother. No, he has appeared as a plenary portion, only as a plenary portion. So he did not manifest his personality fully. So he appears to deny that. Indra makes light of the Lord's reciprocation with him, since the Lord answered the request of Indra's parents only after some delay, and then was unwilling to manifest himself fully in his original form. Tathapya hatva tan shatrun evalam nastrapakrita maya yachanaya adaya bale rajyam datau samme. And even then, instead of killing those enemies, he only embarrassed me, returning my kingdom after taking it from Bali with a deceptive request for charity. Naha asmakam devajati nam trapam karoti jita trapakrit. The Supreme Lord made us embarrassed. He made us, the Devas, embarrassed. Taya kapatayajnaya prasamam vamana rupena swapada parimitam padatrayam bhumim bhikshitva. First he asked for just land that is enough to cover 3 steps of 3 steps by his own measurement. He asked this in the form of Vamana. Paschat Maharupam Avirbhavya, then he revealed a gigantic form. Trailokya Akramanat. Then he aggressively took over the 3 words. Bale Saka Trailokya Akramanat. Bale Sakashat Adaya. Swargarajyam Akhim Saha Achyutaha Dadav. And then he took the kingdom of heaven from Bali, who had aggressively taken over the 3 words, and then gave it to me. So this is what Lord Achyuta did. Itham Rajalabhepi Adhuna Sukham Lajja Karatva. So now, even though we got our kingdom back, we didn't get it back happily because we were embarrassed. An aristocratic lord like Indra might well feel demeaned by such people. Instead of fighting for the demigod's rightful property in an honorable way, Lord Achyuta resorted to tricks. He disguised himself as a dwarf, asked Bali for just as much land as 3 of his steps could cover. And when he obtained the charity on a pretext, made himself larger than the universe. Spardhasu Yadidoshena Brahma Hatyadivapata Nityapata Bhayena Vikim Sukham Swargavasinam. We residents of heaven are tainted with faults like rivalry and jealousy. For such acts as killing Brahmanas, we get entangled in the reactions of sin, and we live in constant fear of losing our posts. So what happiness do we truly enjoy? Ujjamana nare nityam ityani shokar sadvayena uttam swarginam utkarsham nirakaroti sparve. Previously, Narada Muni had stated, actually the king from South India, he had stated that the Devas, they are worshipped by human beings. Therefore, the residents of heaven are superior to human beings. He now denies that. Spardadi Sattaya Sattvitatvam Apastam. Because there are faults like competitiveness, jealousy, and so on. He denies that the residents of heaven are in the mode of goodness. Vishwarupam Vritram Vathadina Devendrasya Brahmatyadi Papatmatir Nishpapatvam api nirastam. And because the king of the devas has killed Vishwarupa, Vritra, and so on, he is also, now he's denying that he is sinless because he has generated sinful reactions for killing a Brahmana and so on. Sada Swarga Adahpatam Bhayasya Vidyamanataya Sharirasya Tejo Mayatvam api na Ativa Adritam Syat. There's always a fear of having to fall down from Swarga. And therefore, simply because they have bodies that are made out of tejas, fire, the element of fire, that is not such an honorable attribute. Yasottam Ekadasha Skandhe, as stated in the 11th canto. Onvartha Sukhayatyenam Kamo va Mrityurantike Aghatam Niyamanasya Vadhyasyeva Natushpitaha. That comes here. Death is not at all pleasing, and since everyone is exactly like a condemned man being led to the place of execution, what possible happiness can people derive from material objects or the gratification they provide? Evam prayo narai samyapatehe. Therefore, practically they are like human beings. Nitya pujyatvam api esham na siddhyati iti gudhopi praya. Therefore, Indra, his hidden intention is to point out that they are not actually meant to be constantly worshipped. The southern king had said that the demigods are always worshipable by man. He had cited several reasons for this, but here Indra answers. He refutes the statement that the demigods are fixed in goodness by reminding Narada that they are quarrelsome. He defeats the statement that they are sinless by recalling how he killed Vritra, Vishwarupa, and others. And he dismisses that their bodies are effulgent by pointing out that the opposite is true, because the demigods constantly anticipate some fall from their positions. As Lord Krishna commented to his friend Uddhava, therefore, according to Indra, the demigods are undeserving of worship because they are hardly better than ordinary. In fact, this is the same position that is taken in Srimad Bhagavatam by Shukadeva Goswami and by Sutta Goswami also. That is why Bhaktivinoda Thakur has pointed out that the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam culminate in the duties of the Jivatmas themselves. And all living creatures are Jivatmas. Jaivadha is the duty of the Jivatma, duty of the soul to eternally serve Krishna. And in that way it is common. Our material designations may be different. We may be human beings, we may be devas, we may be animals and so on. But Srimad Bhagavatam does not consider this very seriously. Kimcha maham pratyupendrasya vidyupeksham visheshataha sudharmam parijatam cha swarganmatyam ninayasa. You must also know that my brother Lord Upendra intentionally disregarded me by taking from heaven the Sudharma hall and the Parijata flower and bringing them to the earth. Mune Vishishta Satrapi Ityadina Uttam Devebhyo Dhikam Indre Bhagavad Anugraham Nirasya. That southern king had told Narada that there's one special Deva who has received the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, Indra denies that. Now he's talking specifically about himself. Swargana Kimcheti. Swarganama Vidham Bhayan Doshadi Sadbhavan Laghavam Paryavasthityega. In fact, the residents of the heavenly planets possess various kinds of fear, defects, and so on, and therefore they are petty. That should be the conclusion. Tacha Bhagavat Upekshe Yaiva. That is because of neglecting the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sacha Adhuna Madvachanat Mayantyata. Now I'm telling you that. You can understand that. Tatha Avaram Sakshan Mad Vishayameva Visheshato Vishnu Peksham Vithi Pratihitiyata. You must also know about this directly and about me specifically. How the Supreme Lord neglects me. Kamevaha Sudharmamiti Sarthatraya. And he begins to talk about that from the second half of this verse. Martyam Bhutalam Saupendraha Martya Shabdenam Maranadharma Shila Padena Tan Nayanam Ayuttamiti Uddishta. It was inappropriate to take the Sudharma hall and the Parijata flower and bring them to the world of mortals. Martyam to the earth. Martyam means mortal. Evam Upeksha Pratipadanat. And because he neglected Parikrutamapi Naradoktam Anyat Bhagavad Kripa Lakshanam Nirastam Ityukyam. So from this we understand that he has also denied other characteristics of having received the mercy of the Supreme Personality of God. Tasyapi upeksha kotyam eva paryavasanat. Because that also will come under the Supreme Lord's neglect of the Devas. Anya visheka kripa bharat drishtya dukshata mananat va. Otherwise, the mercy that he gives to others should be considered to be insignificant. Itham agrepi sarvatra yathai yatham parihara kalpaniyaha. In this way, this is going to come again and again with Nardamuni talking to different personalities. In that way, we understand that each statement will be refuted. Tatra purvavat kramena upakshe upekshaniya eva bhakti swabhavika triti dukhyena bhaktrinam tesham indradinam eva tatra tattvarya bhava. Devotional service is naturally filled with lack of satisfaction, full satisfaction. And therefore the speakers exhibit that. Itham cha yasya pariharo na vartate yasya pariharyadapi adhikaha arthaha bhavet sopi just shodadya eva purvoktat atriptihi dukkha tuchata mananacha tatha pranaya roshacheti dik. So in that way, the idea is that there is dissatisfaction of whatever was stated previously because of distress and because the speaker, like Indra, he considers himself to be in a very insignificant position. Ataitah param grantha vistara bhaya prayashah vistarya tattanna lekhyam. So Sri Sanatana Goswami says, so this is what is going to happen. Whenever there is such denial, this is what should be understood. He will not elaborate on this for each instance, the commentator. Here Indra refutes the claim that among the demigods he has the special favor of the Lord. The Supreme Lord, whom Indra knows as his brother Upendra, appeared on earth in his original identity, Shri Krishna, to favor the Yadus and his wives in Dwaraka. Krishna removed from heaven the Sudharma assembly hall and the Parijata, the flower that grows only in Indra's realm. These affronts, attacks, were particularly intolerable because Krishna brought the Sudharma and Parijata to Dwaraka on earth, a planet of lesser beings where death is prominent. The imperishable Sudharma and Parijata should not have been subjected to such indignities. Narada had used Indra's possessing the Parijata flower as a reason for praising him, but Indra retorts that he has only been embarrassed because of the flower. Krishna's having stolen these two treasures proves that Krishna is more favorable to the devotees in Dwaraka than to Indra, whom he does not hesitate to shame. For a devotee to feel dissatisfied with himself is a natural part of devotional service. Indra expresses natural humility here, and the other Vaishnavas Narada will meet will speak similarly. Each devotee thinks the Lord Krishna only seemingly favors him, but really acts to satisfy devotees who are dearer. When someone praises a devotee for being a recipient of Lord Krishna's mercy, the devotee normally tries to refute the praise. But even if he sometimes doesn't, for that we should not fault him. Devotees speak from the transcendental humility of pure devotion. The most intimate devotees sometimes speak from the transcendental anger called pranaya rosha. In any case, devotees can never conclusively prove that Krishna does not favor them because the opposite is true. He is actually pleased with them. Gopalai Kriyamananam Gopalai Kriyamanam me Nyahan Pujam Chirantanim Akhandam Khandavakyam me Priyam Dahitavan Panam. He ruined the worship the cowherds had been offering me for many years, and he burned down my favorite forest, the vast Khandava. He destroyed, absolutely ruined the worship that these cowherds, such as Sri Nanda Maharaj, the worship that was conducted for Indra. Tadravyaishya Shri Gauranga Puja Pravartana. And on top of it, he took the ingredients for the sacrifice and used it to worship Sri Govardhan. Tirantani, Tirakali Nam. And this has been going on for a long period of time. This Indra Puja by the Rajavasis had been going on for a long period of time, but Krishna didn't mind putting a stop to it. Dahitavan Arjuna. He burned down my favorite forest through Arjuna. Tanchasva Putra Tayanda Vishati. And he refers to him, Arjuna, as his son. Krishna persuaded him. The cowherds of Braja, headed by Nanda Maharaj, to worship Govardhan hill with the offerings collected for Indra's yajna, and to cure Agni of a stomachache. Krishna destroyed Indra's Khandava forest with the help of Arjuna, Indra's own son. Trailokya Grasakrid Vritra Vathartham Rasitah Pura Audasinyam Bhajam Statra Prerayamasa Vamparam. When the Lord was entreated to kill Vritra, who was devouring the three worlds, the Lord responded indifferently, merely sending me on his behalf. Pura ityanina sudharma nayanadikam sampratiti hanitam. Pura, long ago, when the Lord was requested to kill Vritra, and the Lord, he exhibited indifference. He only sent Indra. So from this we understand that bringing down Sudharma, the Sudharma hall, was at the same time that Indra is talking to Sage Narada. param kevalam mameva pravartayamasa nat swayam tadra kinchit sahayam akarot ityartha. The Supreme Lord simply sent me on his behalf when Vidra was all over the place, destroying things. Never, the Supreme Lord did not help any of us. Indra's killing of Vritra described in the hymns of the Rigveda occurred when the planets were being formed by Brahma and his assistants. Vritra had interfered with the universal construction by keeping the oceans trapped inside mountains. The sages of the Rigveda glorify Indra profusely for killing Vritra, thus freeing the waters of the universe. But here, Indra belittles the incident. The 6th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam discloses that Vritra, under his demoniac exterior, was a pure Vaishnava. Indra's killing him was more tragic than glorious. Utsadya mam avadhyaya madhiyam amaravati sarvopari swabhavanam rashayamasa nutanam. With no regard for me, he destroyed my capital, Amaravati, and built a new residence above all others for himself. Amaravati, Indrapuri, Mutsadya, Bhangtva. He destroyed, he broke apart my capital, Amaravati. Sarvopariti, Brahmalokopari, Rashitatva. And he built a new residence above all others. What does above all others means? It means that it was above Brahmaloka. Swabhavanam, Ramapriyam Nama Vaikuntha. He built a new residence for himself. What does that mean? That means this was a Vaikuntha that was pleasing to Rama. Rama is the name of Lakshmi. Tacha Brahmandantara eva bodhavya. It should be understood that it was within the Brahmanda, not outside. Ateva prapanchatita satchidananda ghana Vaikuntha apekshaya nutanam. And therefore it is considered to be recent. Swabhavanam rachayamasa nutanam. It's new. It's new. Etacha harivamshe parijata harana prasange. Idam bhaktu amadiyam cha bhavanam vishnunakritam. Right. Yes. Uparyuparilokanam adhikam bhuvanam muni. O sage, Lord Vishnu sacked my capital city and then built a new planet above all others. Iti saptamatala manvantarina purandara nama indrena yatuttam tadhanusarena yacha ashtamaskande panchama manvantara kathane. So this was spoken by Purandara, the Indra named Purandara in the 7th Manvantara. And in line with that, in the 8th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, during the 5th Manvantara, there's a statement that Patni Vikuntha Shubhrasya Vaikunthe Surasatamayi Tayos Swakalaya Jagge Vikuntho Bhagavan Swayam Vaikuntha Kalpito Yena Loko Loka Namaskataha Ramya Prasyamanena Devya Tat Priyakamyaya. This is 8, 5. From the combination of Shubhra and his wife Vikuntha, there appeared that, and his wife Vikuntha, there appeared the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vaikuntha, along with demigods who had his personal plenary expansions. Just to please the goddess of fortune, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vaikuntha, at her request, created another Vaikuntha planet which is worshipped by everyone. तच्च कल्पभेद व्यवस्थयेति मन्तव्यं यद्वा पूर्वं पञ्चममन्वन्तरे कल्पनामात्रम् इदं तु अधिकतया संयम्यमानम् इत्यविरोधः. There are two ways one can deal with these different incidents. One way of settling this is one of this happened in one particular day of Brahma and the other happened in a different day of Brahma. Or else, previously, during the fifth Manvantara, he had simply thought about it. But right now, in the seventh Manvantara, he wants to make sure that this activity is completed in full. In that way, there's no confusion between these two. Okay. Indra alludes here to an incarnation of Lord Vishnu named Vaikuntha, whom Srila Shukadeva Goswami describes in the 8th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Patni Vikuntha. Okay. From the combination of Shudra and his wife Vikuntha, there appeared the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vaikuntha, along with demigods who were his personal plenary expansions. This to please the goddess of fortune, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vaikuntha at her request created another Vaikuntha planet, which is worshipped by everyone. The eternal spiritual planet Lord Vaikuntha, manifested within the material world, is called Ramapriya, dear to the goddess of fortune. It is located above all other planets, even Lord Brahma's. Strictly speaking, the spiritual kingdom displayed within the material world is never created or destroyed. But because, from our point of view, the planet Ramapriya appeared at a certain time and place, we consider it new compared with the eternal manifestations of the same kingdom of God outside the material realm. The Lord may pretend to create it as his pastime, but he is only unveiling before material eyes what normally cannot be seen in this world. Indra also mentions the incarnation Vaikuntha in Sri Harivamsha. Speaking after Sri Krishna stole the Parijata flower and defeated him in battle, Indra says, Idam bhaktva madiyam cha bhavanam vishnu kritam upari upari lokanam adhikam bhavanam. O sage, Lord Vishnu sacked my capital city and then built a new planet above all others. As described in the 8th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the Lord of Vaikuntha appeared during the period of the 5th month, Vaivata. This was a long time before our speaker Purandara assumed the post of Indra. Srila Sanatana Goswami presents two possible explanations how Indra could have met Lord Vaikuntha. Either the avatar mentioned in the 8th canto was an earlier one and met Indra on a previous day of Brahma, or during the 5th Manvantara, Lord Vaikuntha only conceived the idea of his newborn planet, but constructed it later, during the 7th Manvantara, now current. So in Sanskrit, there's a way of referring to an activity by just planning for it. Even in today's world, when you talk about some complex activities of construction, we keep saying things like, well, within ISKCON we say like, I constructed this temple. That doesn't literally mean that he's the one who is actually going and putting the bricks and all that. It's not like that. He causes it to happen. Similarly, one might start the work of constructing a temple, and most of it may be going through just a period of planning, but that is also considered to be construction. So similarly here, that possibility is also there. Aradhana balat pitro agrahacha purodhasaha puja svikrityana sadhyo yatyadrishyam nijam padam. He accepts our worship on the strength of our parents' devotion and at the insistence of my priest. And then after taking our offerings, he at once disappears, returning to his own abode. Anu Samudrakoti Gambhirashayo Durvitarkya Lilosau Para Dukha Kataraha Anukampayaiva Sarvam Karoti Iti Manyata Vidichet. Ardoni might then suggest to Indra, the Supreme Lord's desires are as grave as millions of oceans. His pastimes are beyond logical assessment. And he is always interested, always distressed, not interested, he is always distressed while thinking about others' distress. So it is simply out of compassion that he is doing everything. Why don't you think like that? Satyam, iti chet satyam, kintu yadi prasanno bhutva nityam aso swayam sakshat sambhuya asmat pujam swikuryat tada tattat sarvam api vayam shodum shaktamah. Yes, if he every day, happily, personally, directly appears and accepts our offering of worship, then we can accept all of this. Tadure is to, okay, set it aside, put it at a far distance. Darshanam api tasyana nityam prapnumaha iti ashenaha aradhane iti saptavi. In 7 verses beginning with text 23, he says, what to speak of this much? Even to meet him, to see him, is not something that we get on a regular basis. Pitroriti asmadiya pitrubhyam purva janmani adhunapi yat kritam yamanam cha tasya aradhanam tasyeva prabhavena ityartha. The Supreme Lord appeared because of our my parents in their previous lives, and even now they had executed and are executing his worship. It is simply by the influence of that he has appeared. Rodhasa, Brihaspati, and also at the insistence of my priest, Brihaspati. Ataha, na asmat vishay karanyaditi bhavaha. The implication is, no, this is not the Lord's mercy upon us, Indra, the Devas. Anena sakshat svikurute pujamiti yaduktam parakritam. So now here, Indra is denying what was stated earlier, what the Southern King had stated earlier, that the Devas, they worship the Supreme Lord, and the Supreme Lord directly accepts their worship. No asmakam asmat kritam ityartha. So he takes our offerings, then he disappears from our vision. Adrishyam asmabhir drashtam ashakyam padam. He goes to some place that we cannot see. Yadva adrishyam yathasya tathayati. Another meaning of adrishyam is he becomes invisible and then he goes off. Narada might have suggested to Indra that he considered how kind the Lord is, no matter what the Lord does. After all, the Lord's mind, being deeper than a million oceans, cannot be fathomed. And so his pastimes are inconceivable. Because the distress of others causes him great anxiety, he always shows compassion in whatever way he can. Indra should try to understand, in this higher sense, Lord Vamana's apparent neglect of him. That is all right. Indra replies in this verse. The Lord would indeed be showing me his compassion if he would just stay here with me, permanently accepting my worship. Then I could tolerate everything else he does. But much of the time, he doesn't even let me see him. Indra's parents, Kashyapa and Aditi, intensely worshipped Lord Vishnu in their previous lives, and they continue to worship him now. Indra's priest Brihaspati is also an enthusiastic worshipper of Vishnu. Indra reasons, therefore, when the Lord appears in order to take my offerings, he does so not from compassion for me, but to reciprocate with the devotion of others. And in any case, he stays only long enough to take his offerings and then goes away. This answers the Southern King's statement. The Lord Vishnu accepts in person the elaborate worship Indra offers. Punah Satvaramagati. Punah Satvaramagati. Swadhyasvikaranaadvayam anugrahya svayetyuktosmanadishati vachayam yavan naham samayami tavad brahma shivothava bhavadbhih pujaniyotra matto bhinnau natau yatah. Then he suddenly comes back. I tell him, we are very much obliged to you for accepting our offerings of arghya. He cunningly replies, whenever I am not here to accept your offerings, you may worship Brahma or Shiva instead. Indeed, both of them are non-different from me. He deceives us. How does he deceive us? What is the intention behind Indra's statement? Ananyagatikebhyah asmabhyam Shri Vishnu Pada Padma Dvayam Vina Na Anyad Upasyam Rochate iti Swayam Aso Janatyeva. We have no shelter other than him. And he knows certainly that we have no taste to worship anything other than the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu, Lord Shri Vishnu. He knows that. Personally, he knows that. Tathapi ekamurtistrayo deva iti shastra vachana nirdeshan nayana yadanya pujayam asman pravartayati satasya kevalam achanayaveti. Still, on the strength of scriptural statements that there's only one Lord who has assumed three forms as Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. So he but still he makes us worship others than himself. That means Brahma and Shiva. Satasya kevalam achanayaveti. That is nothing but deception on his part. Ateva Bhagavad Vachana Adarena Kadachit Swargeshe Rudra Pujotsavopi Parijata Haranadi Prasange Shruyati. So therefore, out of respect for the instructions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, sometimes we hear in the scriptures that in Swarga, there is the festive worship of Sri Rudra. While coming across scriptural descriptions of the taking away of the Parijata and so on. Ekamurtistrayo deva Vishnu Rudra Pitamaha Ityadi Shastra Vachanam Bhavadbhir Vispritam Kimu. According to scriptural statements, the three deities Rudra, Vishnu, and Brahma are embodiments of the same of Supreme Being. Have you forgotten? The Lord tells this to the Indra and the other devas. From Indra's standpoint, these words are simply deceitful. Sri Vamana Dev knows very well that Indra is attracted to worshipping only the Supreme Lord, yet he teases Indra by quoting from scripture, trying to persuade him to worship someone else. And Indra, compelled by the reverence he feels for Lord Vamana, is forced to honor his request. Thus we see that sometimes festivals are held in heaven for worshipping Lord Shiva. One more verse. Vasosyaniyatos agamyo manidurlabha vaikunthe dhruvalokecha shirabhavcha kadachana. We cannot be certain where he lives. His abode is unapproachable, difficult for even sages to attain. Sometimes he is in Vaikuntha, sometimes on Dhruva's planet, and sometimes within the ocean of milk. Evam chet tasya parshva eva bhavadvirgamyatam. he then anticipates that Narada Muni might be thinking and might be desirous of telling Indra, if this is the case, then why can't you just stay with him? You go and stay with him. This current statement is in response to that, anticipates that, and he speaks this. Actually, he speaks 2.5 verses, beginning with text 27. This and the next and a half. Yataha munibhir atmaramay rapi durlabha. He is very difficult for even self-satisfied atmarama sages. Aniya tattvamevaha. And his living place is undetermined. How is that? Sometimes he's in Vaikuntha, beyond material existence. Vaikunthe prapanchatite brahmanda antarvarte rama priya sangyakeva. Sometimes he is in the Vaikuntha within this brahmanda, within the universe, in the Vaikuntha known as the Rama Priya Vaikuntha. There's a Vaikuntha known as Rama Priya, that which is dear to Rama. Rama is the goddess of fortune. Dhruvaloke Vishnu Padeti Khyate. Or else he's in Dhruvaloka. Vishnu Pada, that's his name. Shirabdhav, sometimes within the ocean of milk, in Shvetadvip. Shirabdhav Shvetadvip. Narada might ask, then why don't you join your Lord? Indra answers that he is unsure where the Lord is. He might be in Vaikuntha, beyond the material world, or else on the Vaikuntha planet Ramapriya inside this universe. He might be on Dhruva's planet known as Vishnupada, or he might be on the island of Shvetadvip in the ocean of milk. Okay, I think I should just stop with that. This 112.28. All right, fine. Okay. Any questions? Prem goes on the book.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavad. Prabhuji, is it not true that all the different forms of the Supreme Lord are eternally and simultaneously existent, isn't it?
Yes.
So then doesn't Vamandev stay as Vamandev in the heavenly planets all the while?
No, sometimes he goes off to some other places.
No, but his form is as Vamandev in the heavenly planets only, right?
Not necessarily. It's like Krishna is there, that doesn't mean he's always manifested in Vrindavan. He goes here and there. Ramachandra is in Ayodhya, but then he goes out to Dandakaranya, he goes to Lanka, he goes here and there.
So he goes to, I mean, not within the heavenly planets, even beyond the heavenly planets, right?
He goes wherever he wants.
Yeah, technically I agree, but I thought that form was only in the heavenly planets, Vamandev form.
No. Why? He appeared as Vamana, then he became Trivikrama. And then I think he went to Bali Maharaj's planet and became his gatekeeper.
Mm-hmm.
He does all kinds of things. He does whatever he wants. He's Swatantra Ishwar.
Then the form Vamandev is not eternal, that in that case, right?
Why? The form
because
Vamana
then he
eternal.
went as Trivikrama, no? Trivikrama is very huge in size, isn't it?
No, that is an expansion. An expansion. The Lord can also assume various forms. We saw that in Bhagavatamrita. He can assume various forms, various additional forms. Each form, sometimes certain forms assume various forms. Krishna exhibits his Vishwarupa. And Jiva Goswami actually points out there's a place where Lord Rama exhibited a Vishwarupa once. Lord Rama, the son of Dasharatha. Just because Krishna exhibits Vishwarupa doesn't mean that Krishna has changed his form or something. So Vamana also exhibits a Trivikrama form.
But here, like Indra says that sometimes he goes to Dhruvaloka, sometimes he goes to Bilkoshan. So, but those forms are different, isn't it? Dhruvaloka is Prishni Garbha, and the other one is Shiro Daksha Vishnu.
But he's the same person.
I mean, he's the same person, but these forms are eternal.
These forms are eternal. But he may choose to go as Vamana to Dhruvaloka. So, what is that for him? He makes his rules, he breaks his rules. In the spiritual world, there are particular planets where particular forms of the Supreme Lord predominate. Narsimha Narsimha's there. But, what if some devotee of Narsimha Dev prays to the Supreme Lord with pure devotional service, and Narsimha may appear here? He may choose to be there and also appear here, or he may leave that place and come here.
But on any Vaikuntha Loka, there will be only one Purusha. There cannot be more than one Purusha, right?
What does Purusha mean?
Purusha means the enjoyer.
There's one predominator. But there are instances, like for instance, in Ramloka, Rama is there. He is served by Lakshmana, Bharata, Shatrughna, all of whom are Vishnu Tattva expansion. But yes, but there's only one Rama as a predominator. But there are other situations, like for instance, Goloka Vrindavan, Krishna is there, Balaram is there. But Balaram also enjoys. He has his own devotees who serve him. Because the demigods are not, they have various material desires and so on. The Supreme Lord also behaves with them in such a manner that they become detached, humble, and they progress further. That's why the Lord behaves like that towards them. These things will become clear as we go through Bhagavatamrita, both in this part and in the next part. Things will become much more clearer.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. So we'll stop with that. If you have further questions, you can bring it up in the Telegram group.
Thank you, Prabhu.